Hi, I'm Shreya Coulter here with this week's Life and Liberty Brief. We begin this week with good news on the religious liberty front in an article from the Washington Stand. In a historic first, a nativity scene was displayed on the steps of the U.S. Capitol in what many are calling a milestone for religious freedom and the First Amendment. The display was made possible by a 2024 court ruling in which the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia declared the Capitol steps a public forum where peaceful demonstrations could no longer be prohibited. Reverend Patrick Mahoney had this to say in a statement about the outcome of the court case. This is also a significant victory for religious freedom and the First Amendment. This event has ended and won the war on Christmas in the public square. For if Christmas can be celebrated and displayed in the most powerful public square in America, it can be celebrated publicly everywhere. In another bit of good news, the United Kingdom has banned indefinitely the use of puberty blockers in minors, calling it an unacceptable safety risk. Previously, this decision had been a temporary restriction, but with the UK Department of Health and Social Care's announcement, the ban now becomes permanent. The discussion of transgender treatment continues in the United States as well. This past week, the U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments in United States v. Scrimeti, where the question is whether a state can protect children from treatments its legislature deems harmful. The Danbury Institute's Advisory Council Chairman, Dr. Richard Land, wrote this week for the Christian Post, taking a deeper look at this case and the potential ramifications of its outcome, which we should hear in spring or summer of 2025. Finally, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson responded to United Kingdom legislators voting to legalize euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide, calling it, quote, a sad and shameful day for the English-speaking world. Speaker Johnson had this to say during a press conference in which he offered a point of personal privilege on this development. It's an ancient truth that medicine should always heal and never harm, but the UK just joined Canada in twisting that definition of medicine and codifying the Orwellian language of assisted death into law. Any society that rejects that truth about life as a gift from our Creator and adopts a culture of death as a society, that is in the process of crumbling. So-called assisted death endangers the weak and marginalized in society, and it corrupts medicine, and it erodes our obligations to family. And I hope and pray that the people of the United Kingdom will work through democratic means and reverse that legislation. From the Danbury Institute this week, we have linked in this week's brief a statement regarding the Take It Down Act, which has passed the Senate and is next to be considered in the House. This legislation, which has bipartisan support, seeks to criminalize posting non-consensual intimate imagery and AI-generated pornography on social media sites. The Danbury Institute has been working with Senator Cruz's team in garnering support for this measure over the last several months, and we look forward to hopefully seeing a positive outcome on it soon. Pornography is always a scourge on society, and the posting of deep fakes or images without a person's consent only compounds the evil of something that is already a terrible and detrimental practice. Also linked in this week's brief are photos from our recent event in Fort Worth with guest speaker Riley Gaines. Be watching this coming week for our interview with Riley as we sat down to talk with her about combating the absurdity of transgenderism and the infiltration of men into women's sports and spaces. If you're watching the Life and Liberty Brief for the first time, we welcome you and invite you to subscribe at danburyinstitute.org so that you can receive updates like this in your inbox each week. For today, thank you for taking the time to watch this Life and Liberty Brief.